Okay, today we are going to build a Gantt chart using R. So the first thing we're going to do, like all the videos, we're going to go through each line of code. So I'm starting out here with library plotly. In order to actually call that package, you're going to have to first install it if you haven't already done so. So once you've installed the package, you call it from your library. This step is where we are reading all of our data into the variable Gantt. Here on this next line, we are reading in our Gantt variable, and we're specifying the format that our date variable is in. And so I have my date formula as year, then month, then date. So I'm telling R how that needs to be read. And I'm saying that the variable that it is start. Next, we're specifying the client name here. I just went with client X. This bit right here, so for our Gantt chart, we are going to be differentiating the color based on who's going to be doing that particular step. So within these two lines of code, what we're doing is we're telling R we're telling R that we want it to pull the colors based on the resource variable, and that our resource variable has three different categories. So it had client, it had consultant, and it had client and consultant. And this here is just specifying the color palette, if you will. And we're pushing that into calls, and then we are referencing that down here. So we're saying that the label is calls. It's going to be pulling from the resource variable. That is going to be the factor that we use when we're referencing this color variable in our Gantt chart. Now next we have this P arrow plotly, and we are in this step initializing an empty plot. From there, what we're doing is we're essentially telling R what we want to go in our plot. So what we're doing here is we're essentially pushing all of this information into what is known as a trace. And a trace is essentially just a plot line. And so we specify here what we want that trace information to be, or what we want to constitute each trace. So we're saying that we're going to be pulling data from the I row, and you'll see down here that we've referenced I in Gantt -1, and this is where we're actually specifying the variables that it's going to pull. So for our x-axis, we are going to have the start date, and we're going to also have the duration. So that's going to indicate how long each line in our Gantt chart is. This y value is going to be the task number. Mode equals lines. We're going to be using lines in our Gantt chart. This right here is delineating what color we're going to have and how wide it's going to be. Show legend equals F. If I had to guess, I would say that that means that F equals false. However, there is a legend, so maybe that's just saying that we don't have to actually click to tell R where we want the legend. I'm not really sure. Hover info equals text. This is going to be like our tool table function in Tableau. So when you hover over your lines in LR, it'll give you the information that we're going to specify down here. So we have text equals paste, so it's going to be pasting this information into our little tooltip. So phase, so we are telling R, we want you to write this, and we want you to pull the information from the variable phase. And then we do that for all of these variables down here. So we're telling R that we also want the specific task to show up, when it's going to start, how long it's going to be, what the deliverable is for that step, when that task is going to be completed, and who is going to be responsible for completing that step. And then next to it, I have what variable or what column the data needs to be pulled from. And then you can see over here it says days. That's just completing that line of text so that it makes a little bit more sense. Evaluate equals T. What I found online is that you need this to avoid lazy loading. I saw that when you install the Plotly package, there is something that installs for lazy loading. Beyond that, I'm not really sure what it does. Now, this is where we add information to our plot. So in addition to the actual lines in our Gantt chart, we are now putting in some more information. Here is where we are telling R that what color we want the little tick marks on our X and Y axis to be, and what we want that to look like. So we want it to be an array. The values for the ticks are going to be pulled from Gantt, and it's going to be in increments of that variable that's being pulled. Tick text, it's going to be pulling from the number variable in our Gantt chart. Annotations, this is basically telling R what we want, what information we want in our legend, as well as what information we want in terms of like a title. So here we have text, paste, just like above. We're telling R what information we want R to provide and what information can be found in our data set. So we're going to be pulling the duration variable to get the target days of work. And it's going to be a sum of all of the days that are listed in the data set. So in order to figure out what the target days of work is, we have to sum that. Tasks completed, I just manually put in what fraction of tasks have already been completed and what fraction is still left to be completed. So yeah, and here we get into the actual design aspect of it. So we're specifying colors, specifying font size, specifying font. On this line, we are telling R what we want the title of our chart to be, and we're also referencing that client variable that we listed earlier. So if we highlight all of this and then hit run, we get a nifty looking Gantt chart. Let's see. Oh, here you go. So if we hover over these, we can see that it includes all of the information that we wanted included within the hover text. We also have here the information for our legend. We have the x-axis labeled, the tick marks being the specific dates. On the y-axis, we have the tick marks. We have the title, which is left aligned, as was specified in our syntax. So that is how you build a Gantt chart in R.